let me guess. You come back home to your parents for the holidays to find that your room has been converted to a guest room. Then you catch yourself regressing into old childlike patterns of behavior you thought you were over, and now you're beating yourself up for not being as far along as you thought you were, or feeling guilty for not enjoying coming home anymore. Yeah? Okay, let's talk. This is why I struggle coming home. The last 5 or 6 years of being home when I lived here, I really, really struggled mentally and emotionally. And I don't want to blame it on my environment or the people around me, because no one or nothing made me think certain things or do certain things that negatively impacted my mental health. However, my personality type, or for me personally, for some reason, this environment brought up a lot of shit for me. And going to college, leaving this environment, was a huge catalyst for me being able to recognize those toxic patterns I was prone to in this environment, and to realize that my environment did play a role. I'm not blaming it, but it did play a role in my experience, clearly, because lots of things changed, some in a positive way and some in a more negative or challenging way, when I moved out. I was the same person. It was only my environment that changed and my behavior changed. It can be hard to recognize deeply ingrained patterns when you are subconsciously participating in them every single day. And it wasn't until I left that I realized how much of my life I spent in fight or flight. And I was really able to work through the things I struggled with rather than being so deeply in them, if that makes sense. And I truly do feel like I've outgrown many of the unproductive patterns of behaviors and thinking from when I lived here, because I never engage in them anymore since I moved out. But it's like the second I get put back in this environment, it all comes rushing back. I remember exactly how I felt when I lived here, and I slip into these old patterns which are not a norm for me anymore. Some without realizing, though I am much quicker to catch myself when I do slip into these patterns. And I start to think, well, obviously I'm not as far along as I thought I was if I can't go back into the environment that brought me pain and not experience that pain anymore. But then I realized that that mindset in and of itself is an old pattern I used to engage in frequently, beating myself up for not being as far along as I thought I, quote, should be, which is so unproductive. I guess I just struggle to find the balance between taking accountability for my behavior when I am in this environment, but also giving myself grace and reminding myself that it's not 100% on me. There's nothing wrong with me for not being able to act the way I want or plan to when I'm back home. Environment is a very important factor to behavior. That's why it's so important to be intentional about the people and the things and the environments that you engage with, because as hard as you may try to resist it, your environment affects you. If coming home is hard for you, if it's hard to even call where you used to live home, I just want you to hear this. You're not alone. Struggling to come home does not mean you have not grown immensely since leaving. And you do not have to feel guilty for realizing the environment you grew up in was not the most efficacious environment for you in terms of stepping into the person you want to be. And it doesn't have to be anyone's fault. It doesn't mean that your parents and your family didn't love you and tried their very best, but you stepping into your highest self probably wasn't the number one priority in your family system. There were a lot of other people and factors at play. But the good news is that now you do get to make decisions that will be efficacious to you. You do get to make decisions for yourself that you feel will allow you to step into your highest self. And I'm so proud of you for putting in the work that you've done so far to do so. You deserve this. And I just encourage you to use this time at home to share with your younger self about all the ways you've been working on you, because I'm sure that they would be very excited to hear it. And what better place to do so than the place you feel closest to them, the place they lived, home.